Most people stocking their pantry are making the same quiet mistake, and it's costing them money, shelf space, and real nutrition when it matters most. Walk down any canned goods aisle and you'll see rows of brightly labeled fruit promising convenience, health, and years of reliable shelf life. It all looks dependable. It all looks like a smart buy. But here's what that packaging isn't telling you. Not every can of fruit belongs in a long-term pantry, and some of the most popular options on those shelves are actively working against you. Some cans are quietly degrading before you ever open them. Some are loaded with so much added sugar that calling them nutritious is a stretch. Some break down texturally within a couple of years, leaving you with a mushy, flavorless disappointment right when you need something reliable. And the frustrating part? From the outside, these cans look identical to the ones that actually hold up. This video exists to change that. We're going to separate the real long-term assets from the shelf space wasters, the cans that earn their place, and the ones that look useful but ultimately let you down. This isn't about gourmet taste preferences or food trends. This is about practical, real-world decisions that affect your family's health, your grocery budget, and your preparedness when fresh food isn't available. Because here's the assumption most people are operating on. If it comes in a can, it lasts forever, and it's automatically a smart buy. That assumption is wrong, and it's costing people who genuinely care about smart food storage more than they realize. We're going to walk through the best canned fruits for long-term storage, the ones you should avoid, and the clear reasons behind every decision. Some of these will confirm what you suspected, others will genuinely surprise you. One fruit near the end of this list is so underrated that even people who take food storage seriously tend to overlook it. And once you understand why it belongs in every pantry, you'll want to stock it immediately. Stay with me, because what you do with this information could make a real difference the next time you're standing in that grocery aisle. Let's start with the ones that earn their place. Number 1, canned pineapple. If you want a single canned fruit that solves multiple problems at once, seasonal availability, nutritional value, shelf stability, and culinary versatility, canned pineapple makes the strongest case, and most people dramatically underestimate it. Here's the core issue with fresh pineapple. It's seasonal, often imported from regions that deal with weather disruptions, shifting crop yields, and transportation delays. When any of those systems experience stress, prices spike fast and quality drops even faster. An underripe pineapple shipped thousands of miles to reach your grocery store is not the same fruit as one harvested at peak ripeness and sealed within hours. That's exactly what canned pineapple gives you. Harvested at the optimal point in its growing cycle, processed quickly and sealed before nutritional degradation can begin. What you're opening from that can is genuinely closer to the fruit's actual nutritional peak than most fresh pineapple you'd encounter out of season. That's not a marketing claim. It's a straightforward result of how the canning timeline compares to the fresh shipping timeline. What's inside nutritionally? Vitamin C for immune support, B vitamins for energy metabolism, manganese for bone health and metabolic function, potassium and magnesium, both of which support cardiovascular health and muscle function. These aren't minor bonuses. These are nutrients that matter most when diets become restricted, repetitive, or limited in variety. Pineapple also contains bromelain, a natural digestive enzyme with documented anti-inflammatory properties. In situations where access to fresh produce or supplements is limited, having a food source that supports both digestion and inflammation management carries real functional value. Now think about practical daily use. Canned pineapple works as a direct snack straight from the can. It adds natural sweetness and meaningful calories to oatmeal, rice dishes, and grain-based meals. It holds its texture remarkably well compared to softer fruits, which means it's genuinely usable years down the line, rather than dissolving into an unpleasant pulp. Unlike some canned fruits that become structurally compromised within a couple of years, pineapple tends to maintain its integrity and flavor much longer. Storage is uncomplicated. A cool, dark pantry is sufficient. Rotate every few years for peak quality, and you have a reliable, low-maintenance staple. No special conditions, no freezer space, no rotation anxiety. The cost picture is equally favorable. Canned pineapple is consistently one of the more affordable options in the canned fruit aisle, especially purchased in bulk. Compare that to paying elevated prices for an underripe imported fresh pineapple during the off-season, a product that may already be past its nutritional peak by the time it reaches your kitchen. If supply chains experience disruption or import costs rise, having canned pineapple already stocked at prices you secured earlier is both a nutritional win and a financial one. Canned pineapple isn't glamorous, it's not trending, but it performs exactly when it needs to, and that's what actually matters in long-term food storage. Number 2. Pumpkin puree. This one gets dismissed almost every time, and that's a significant mistake. People associate canned pumpkin with seasonal baking. It appears on shelves in October, goes into holiday recipes, and disappears from most people's thinking until the following autumn. That pattern means most pantries are missing one of the most genuinely practical, nutrient-dense, and long-lasting canned options available. Let's clear up a common misconception first. Commercial pumpkin puree is not made from the decorative pumpkins sold in grocery store parking lots every October. It's produced from dense, thick-fleshed squash varieties specifically bred for canning. Cultivars that yield far more usable flesh per fruit, with better consistency, deeper color, and a more concentrated nutritional profile than ornamental pumpkins could offer. What's in the can is a more nutritionally serious product than most people assume. The vitamin A content alone makes it worth stocking. A single cup of cooked pumpkin delivers well over a full day's recommended intake of vitamin A. That matters because vitamin A supports vision, immune system function, and cellular repair, 3 things that become more important, not less, when dietary variety is restricted. In a long-term storage scenario, nutritional deficiencies are a real risk. Foods that actively prevent those gaps are worth far more than foods that simply add calories. Beyond vitamin A, pumpkin puree provides meaningful dietary fiber, potassium, and a range of trace minerals that support digestion and metabolic balance. The fiber content specifically is valuable because it helps moderate the glycemic impact of grain-heavy meals, which are common in long-term storage diets. But what genuinely sets pumpkin puree apart from most other canned options is how quietly versatile it is in actual cooking. Stir it into a soup and it thickens the base naturally while adding nutrition. Add it to a curry or lentil dish and it contributes body and depth without overwhelming other flavors. Mix it into rice or oatmeal and you've just added significant nutrients and additional calories without fundamentally changing the character of the dish. Use it in baked goods to stretch portions and improve nutritional density. In a situation where you're working with a limited, repetitive ingredient list, having one item that can function across multiple dish types without announcing itself is genuinely valuable, practically and psychologically. Storage performance is excellent. Kept in a cool, dark pantry, unopened cans maintain their quality for years without any special handling requirements. No freezer space, no refrigeration, no complex rotation schedule beyond standard pantry management. Compare that to the experience of trying to source fresh pumpkin or winter squash outside of its narrow harvest window. Inconsistent availability, high prices, and significant variation in quality. Pumpkin puree earns a permanent place in any serious long-term pantry. Not a seasonal one, not an occasional one, a permanent one. Number 3. Canned coconut milk. There's a nutritional gap that most long-term storage plans create without realizing it, and it quietly undermines the effectiveness of everything else in the pantry. Most shelf-stable food stockpiles are heavy on carbohydrates, grains, legumes, canned fruits, dried goods. That's natural given what stores well and what's affordable. But without adequate fat in the diet, even calorie-sufficient meals leave people feeling chronically unsatisfied, mentally foggy, and physically drained over time. Canned coconut milk directly addresses that gap in a form that stores easily, costs reasonably, and works in a wide range of cooking applications. The nutritional distinction is in the fat profile. Coconut milk contains medium-chain triglycerides, a type of fat that the body processes and converts into energy more efficiently than longer-chain fats found in most other sources.
In physically demanding situations or high-stress environments, that metabolic efficiency is meaningful. Fat slows digestion, extends satiety, supports sustained energy output, and makes basic meals feel complete rather than merely caloric. Consider what that means practically. A meal of rice and beans is nutritionally adequate. The same meal prepared with coconut milk becomes more satisfying, more calorie-dense, and more sustaining.
That difference in how full and energized you feel after eating matters enormously when options are limited and meals become repetitive. The culinary versatility is broad. Coconut milk can replace dairy in virtually any cooking application. Soups, stews, curries, porridges, sauces. It adds richness and depth to grain dishes. It works in sweet preparations like rice pudding and in savory ones like Thai-style vegetables. When ingredient options are narrow, having one item that can meaningfully shift the richness, texture, and calorie density of a meal without requiring refrigeration is a practical advantage that's hard to overstate. It's worth clarifying the difference between canned coconut milk and the carton version found in the refrigerated section. Carton coconut milk is heavily diluted, often sweetened, and depends on refrigeration. Canned coconut milk is thicker, more concentrated, free of unnecessary additives in most brands, and completely shelf-stable until opened. For long-term storage purposes, there's no contest between them. Storage is simple and reliable. Unopened cans last for years in a cool, dry space. No freezer required, no rotation complexity beyond standard pantry management, no spoilage risk until the seal is broken. This is not a specialty item that occasionally ends up in a recipe. It's a functional staple that brings nutritional completeness and culinary adaptability to a long-term pantry, filling a gap that most other canned options leave open. Number 4. Canned stone fruits. Peaches, plums, apricots, nectarines, the entire stone fruit category deserves a prominent and deliberate place in any serious long-term food storage plan, and the reasoning goes deeper than taste. Fresh stone fruits have one of the shortest viable seasons of any commonly consumed fruit. Depending on the variety and region, you're looking at a window of a few weeks, sometimes less. Outside of that narrow seasonal availability, what you find in grocery stores is typically harvested early for shipping purposes, meaning it was picked before reaching full nutritional development. By the time that fruit travels the supply chain and reaches your kitchen, it's nutritionally compromised compared to what it would have been at true peak ripeness. Canning changes that equation fundamentally. Stone fruits processed at peak ripeness are sealed at their highest point of nutritional and flavor development. The canning process stabilizes much of that value, preserving vitamins, natural sugars, and flavor compounds in a form that holds up over years of proper storage. What's the nutritional case specifically? Stone fruits are meaningful sources of vitamin C, beta-carotene precursors to vitamin A, and potassium. Apricots in particular stand out for their beta-carotene content, a compound the body converts to vitamin A, supporting immune defense, vision health, and cellular repair. In a long-term storage context, where dietary variety is limited, these micronutrients provide real protection against the deficiency risks that restricted diets create over time. From a practical standpoint, canned stone fruits are easy to incorporate into daily meals. They work as direct snacks, add natural sweetness and variety to grain-based dishes and oatmeal, and hold up adequately in cooked applications. Peaches, in particular, tend to maintain better structural integrity through the canning process than softer fruits, making them more versatile after extended storage. One important buying consideration: choose options packed in water or their own juice rather than heavy syrup whenever possible. Heavy syrup versions can contain more added sugar per serving than many dessert items, upward of 25 grams in some cases. That high sugar content raises the glycemic load, contributes to faster textural breakdown over time, and provides little nutritional benefit beyond calories. Water-packed or juice-packed options are cleaner nutritionally and tend to maintain better quality over long storage periods. Price and availability favor stone fruits consistently. They're widely stocked, competitively priced, and straightforward to buy in bulk.
During high production harvest years, surplus keeps prices lower than other fruit categories. Locking in canned inventory at those prices is a sound, simple investment in reliable future access. For long-term pantry building, canned stone fruits are nutritious, affordable, genuinely enjoyable to eat, and consistently reliable. They earn their shelf space. Number 5. Canned tomatoes. Technically classified as a fruit, functionally one of the most essential items in any serious long-term pantry. If there's a single canned product that makes the strongest argument for universal inclusion, canned tomatoes are it. Here's what makes them distinctive nutritionally. Tomatoes are rich in lycopene, a powerful antioxidant with well-documented health benefits.
Here's what most people don't know. Lycopene actually becomes more bioavailable through the cooking and canning process. Processed tomatoes deliver more usable lycopene than the same tomatoes eaten raw. That's a genuinely unusual nutritional property. Most cooking reduces bioavailability, but tomatoes are an exception. Beyond lycopene, canned tomatoes provide vitamin C, potassium, and folate, all of which support immune function, cardiovascular health, and cellular repair. In a diet that becomes repetitive and restricted, antioxidant-rich foods play a real role in maintaining immune resilience and reducing the oxidative stress that comes with nutritional limitation. Storage life is among the most impressive in the canned fruit category. High-acid foods like tomatoes are naturally more resistant to spoilage than low-acid options, and that acidity extends effective shelf life significantly. Properly stored in cool, dark conditions, canned tomatoes routinely maintain quality well beyond their printed dates. The culinary case is where tomatoes truly separate themselves from everything else on this list. They form the foundational base for sauces, soups, stews, and chili. They add depth and acidity to bean dishes and grain preparations. They work in rice dishes, braised preparations, curries, and casseroles. A single can of diced or crushed tomatoes can anchor an entire meal in a way that very few other ingredients can match. When cooking options are restricted and ingredient lists are short, that kind of foundational utility is irreplaceable. The price point makes the decision straightforward. Canned tomatoes are among the most affordable items in any grocery store, with generic and store-brand options performing nearly identically to premium brands in cooked applications. Buying in bulk at standard grocery pricing is one of the most cost-effective investments available in long-term food storage. If you walked away from this video and added only one item to your pantry, canned tomatoes would be the defensible choice for sheer combined nutritional value, culinary versatility, storage reliability, and cost efficiency. Nothing else on this list covers all four dimensions as completely. Number 6. Canned jackfruit. Here's the underrated one. Most people have encountered jackfruit at some point. It's appeared on enough restaurant menus and food trend lists to be broadly recognizable, but far fewer people actually stock it, and that's a significant missed opportunity that's worth examining closely. Young green jackfruit, when canned in brine or water, has a textural property that is genuinely unlike anything else in the canned fruit category. When pulled apart or shredded, it produces fibrous strands that are remarkably similar to pulled or shredded meat in both appearance and mouthfeel. That characteristic makes it one of the only plant-based options in the canned fruit section that can convincingly substitute for meat in savory dishes, not as a perfect replacement, but as a genuinely satisfying alternative that adds variety and satiety. In a long-term storage context, that matters enormously. Monotony is one of the most underestimated challenges in any extended period of restricted eating. When people get bored with the same meals repeatedly, they eat less, feel worse, and struggle more with the psychological weight of the situation. Having one ingredient that can produce a fundamentally different eating experience, something that feels like a pulled pork taco or a hearty stew filling rather than another grain bowl, provides meaningful relief from that monotony. Nutritionally, jackfruit provides dietary fiber, meaningful potassium in modest amounts of several B vitamins. It is not calorically dense on its own, so it functions best when paired with higher calorie staples like rice, legumes, or coconut milk.
Think of it less as a primary nutritional source and more as a culinary tool, something that diversifies meal structure and makes restricted diets more psychologically sustainable. Storage performance is solid. Properly sealed cans, held in cool, dark conditions, maintain quality for years. Jackfruit is widely available in Asian grocery stores and increasingly stocked in mainstream supermarkets as demand has grown. Prices are reasonable, particularly when purchased in larger quantities. What does actual use look like? Drain and rinse the canned jackfruit, shred it manually or with forks, season it with whatever spices you have available, and cook it briefly to develop flavor and texture. It works as a filling for wraps or flatbreads. It adds body and fiber to curries and stews. It can be spiced to approximate pulled meat in a way that makes a meal feel substantially different from everything else in a rotation. If you have never stocked canned jackfruit, this is the information that should change that decision. Now let's address the options you should skip. Number 1. Fruit cocktail.
The appeal is understandable on the surface. Multiple fruits in a single can, bright colors, a sense of variety without the effort of buying several separate items. It looks like a convenient, versatile choice for a pantry. Look more carefully and the picture deteriorates quickly. Fruit cocktail is almost universally packed in heavy syrup. Some varieties contain upward of 20 grams of added sugar per serving. That's not a nutritional food. That's a dessert masquerading as a practical pantry item. In a long-term storage context, high-sugar foods create problems. They spike blood sugar rapidly without delivering sustained energy. They don't satisfy hunger the way protein and fat do. They contribute to energy crashes that make everything harder. And they provide very little of the vitamins and minerals that actually matter when diet quality becomes limited. The fruit itself compounds the problem. The typical fruit cocktail mix includes soft, fragile varieties, cherry pieces, grape halves, soft pear chunks that don't hold up well over time even in ideal conditions. These fruits break down texturally into mushy, discolored fragments well before sturdier options would show any degradation. You're essentially paying shelf space rent for syrup and softening fruit scraps. The nutritional return after extended storage is genuinely minimal. Heavy syrup dilutes whatever vitamins were present at the time of canning. Time in storage reduces that further. What you open after 2 or 3 years on the shelf is largely fructose water with soft fruit pieces, not a meaningful contribution to a diet under stress. For occasional use or short-term snacking, fruit cocktail is harmless. For serious long-term pantry building, it occupies space that a pineapple, pumpkin puree, or tomato can should be filling instead. The decision to skip it is straightforward. Number 2. Canned pears. This one deserves direct attention because it genuinely looks like a reasonable choice. Pears are a real fruit with some legitimate health benefits. They come in water pack and juice pack options that appear nutritionally sound. The packaging looks appropriate. The problem is texture, and it's a problem that no buying decision can fully avoid with this fruit. Pears are naturally among the softest of the commonly canned fruits, and that softness accelerates substantially under the canning process. Even quality brands packed at genuine peak ripeness tend to become progressively mealy and mushy within a relatively short storage window. After 2 or 3 years in a pantry, many canned pear products have degraded to a texture that's unpleasant and difficult to use in any meaningful cooking context. That's not a worst-case scenario. It's a fairly typical outcome that people who've stocked and actually used canned pears will recognize. The nutrition picture doesn't rescue the choice. Pears are a moderate source of fiber and vitamin C, but neither of those stands up particularly well to the canning process or extended storage. Pears sourced for commercial canning are often harvested early to accommodate shipping timelines, meaning the nutritional development that happens in the final ripening stage is cut short before the fruit ever reaches the processing facility. By the time you open a can after several years of storage, meaningful vitamin content has continued degrading to the point of offering minimal return. Heavy syrup versions add substantial sugar without improving any of these problems. Water pack or juice pack versions avoid the worst of the sugar issue, but don't solve the texture degradation.
Practical culinary utility is narrow even in ideal conditions. Canned pears work in dessert applications, cobblers, tarts, simple compotes. In a genuine long-term storage context, you need fruits versatile enough to function in both sweet and savory applications, durable enough to hold up after years on the shelf, and nutritionally substantive enough to contribute meaningfully to a restricted diet. Canned pears meet none of those criteria reliably. Direct that budget and shelf space toward pineapple, tomatoes, or stone fruits instead, options that consistently outperform on every metric that matters. Number 3, canned apples. Canned apples share some of the same limitations as canned pears, but with additional factors that make them an even weaker investment for long-term storage. The texture problem is arguably more pronounced. Apples contain natural enzymes that actively continue breaking down cellular structure even after the canning process seals them. Over time, that enzymatic activity leaves you with fruit that has essentially become applesauce, soft, wet, and texturally uninspiring, even when the flavor hasn't fully deteriorated. For anyone expecting usable, recognizable apple pieces after several years of storage, canned apples are a frequent disappointment. Nutritionally, the picture is similarly discouraging.
Vitamin C, one of the primary nutritional benefits people associate with apples, is heat sensitive and degrades both during the canning process and throughout storage under sealed conditions. The fiber content that gives fresh apples genuine health value softens progressively, reducing its functional effectiveness. After 2 to 3 years on the shelf, the nutritional return from canned apples is thin. Sugar content is another concern. Most commercial canned apples are sweetened either directly with added sugar or indirectly through syrup packing. Even marketed as unsweetened versions often include enough sugar to compensate for flavor loss during processing. That sugar load undermines the case for using canned apples as a meaningful nutritional staple in a restricted diet scenario. For anyone who specifically wants to maintain apple availability over long periods, the better alternatives are clear. Dehydrated apple slices retain more nutritional content, maintain structural integrity, and store without the syrup breakdown problem. Freeze-dried apples preserve even more of the original flavor and nutrient profile. Both options deliver better long-term return on the shelf space they occupy. Canned apples are acceptable for immediate use and short-term convenience. For deliberate, serious, long-term preparedness planning, they're a weak use of limited resources. Now let's bring everything together. You've just worked through the case for 6 canned fruits that genuinely earn their long-term pantry place: pineapple, pumpkin puree, coconut milk, stone fruits, tomatoes, and jackfruit, and the clear case against 3 popular options that consistently underperform when they're actually needed. The pattern underlying both lists is the same: real nutritional value, genuine textural durability, broad culinary versatility, and honest shelf-life performance are what separate the assets from the liabilities. The broader principle is worth stating plainly. Long-term food storage is not about buying whatever looks convenient in the moment and hoping for the best. It's about deliberate, informed decision-making that holds up under real conditions, when time has passed, when fresh options have disappeared, and when your pantry has moved from background comfort to active necessity. Every can on your shelf should be earning its place with specific, verifiable qualities that matter when circumstances change. Take a serious look at your pantry right now, not a quick glance, an actual inventory of what's there and what it would actually provide. How many of those cans are genuinely reliable in both nutrition and texture after extended storage? How many are adding sugar without adding substance? How many would genuinely disappoint you if you opened them in an emergency and found mushy, flavorless fruit swimming in syrup? Those questions aren't designed to create anxiety. They're designed to help you make a better plan, a realistic plan built around the right things rather than a full-looking pantry built around the wrong ones. Before your next grocery run, answer these honestly. Which of the fruits we covered today are already in your pantry? Which ones are missing that clearly should be there? And which can have you stocked in the past that consistently let you down when you actually used it?
Let those answers inform specific purchases. Not everything at once, a deliberate, steady process of replacing weak options with strong ones and filling gaps with items that genuinely perform. Long-term preparedness is built through consistent, intelligent, small decisions made in advance of the moments that require them. Every correct choice you make today is one fewer problem you face when circumstances shift. And if history tells us anything reliably, it's that circumstances always shift eventually. If this breakdown helped you see your pantry differently, or if there's a specific fruit from this list you're adding to your shopping rotation, let us know in the comments below. We genuinely want to hear which one surprised you most and which one you're stocking first. If you found this useful, go ahead and give this video a like. It helps this content reach more people who are trying to make smarter, more informed decisions about food storage and real-world preparedness. This is my channel, and every week we bring you practical, no-nonsense information built around what actually works when it matters. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Your pantry is one of the most important and most overlooked investments you can make in your family's long-term stability. Build it with intention, stock it with things that actually hold up, and make sure that when you reach for that can, it delivers exactly what you need it to.